Dolores Huerta has dedicated her life to empowering Latinos in this country and beyond, from co-founding the United Farm Workers Union with Cesar Chavez to advocating for voting rights and civil rights today. And I am very honored to welcome her to State of Belief Radio. Dolores Huerta, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
You're working with People for the American Ways project called Latino Vote. Please talk about why your priority right now is to do this.
Well, we know that the Latino vote is a very important vote in this election, and that the Latino vote can actually be the decider in who gets elected in many states, but also who gets elected to the presidency of the United States of America. And so we are trying to reach out to Latino voters to impress them and convince them and motivate them that they have to come out and they have to vote. And so this is what we're doing. We've actually been campaigning throughout the entire year. I'm practically just giving them examples of how Latinos have really changed the political complexion of other states like California, and that they can do the same thing in North Carolina and some of these other swing states.
Ms. Huerta, how much damage has all of this anti-Latino rhetoric that we've been hearing during this past year, how much damage has that done to the people with whom you work?
Well, it really has. I mean, I'm talking about psychological damage and social damage, and especially damage to our children, because when they attack Mexicans or immigrants, it really affects not only people who are undocumented, but it affects every single one of us who happens to be of Latino or Mexican descent. So it is extremely damaging. And the thing also is that when we have that kind of rhetoric, it gives people who are racist to begin with, it gives them license then to act out on their feelings towards other people. I don't know if you've heard the stories, but there was a young man in Arizona who was just out there mowing his lawn, and his neighbor came and shot him and claimed because he was a so-called illegal alien. The man was actually a U.S. citizen of the United States of America, but this neighbor thought he was an undocumented person and just went out there and killed him. And so we have seen a lot of these physical attacks and others, as you know, not so subtle attacks against people of Mexican descent because of this rhetoric of Donald Trump.
Dolores, do you see Latino voters, as you work with them now and try to encourage them and empower them for voting, do you see them engaged and energized in this election, or are you having really to pump up their convictions again that they really can make a difference?
No, we have seen the difference. We have a lot of Latinos now who are registering to vote, a lot of Latinos who have become citizens so that they can vote. In my own work with the Dolores Huerta Foundation, we actually registered a woman who was 90 years old who had become a citizen simply so that she could vote against Donald Trump. We registered another one who was 70 who had been eligible to vote but never voted. And here in North Carolina, we have almost 200,000 Latinos, and unfortunately, only about half of them voted in the last election. So that we've got to make sure that we get everybody out to vote, because this election is so critical.
The question I want to ask you next is about your work with Latinos, but to be very honest with you, it is about all Americans. What are you saying to members of your community or to people you encounter who simply are not politically engaged this year?
Well, we're trying to explain to them that the people that we elect are the ones that make the decisions about how our tax dollars are spent. We know a lot of money has been going to jails. We know that people are being elected, say, to school boards that really don't care about the education of our African American and Latino children. And then we try to give them examples of major legislation that was passed that benefited them, like the amnesty bill of 1986, where you had several million Latinos who got their legal status in the United States. Well, that never would have happened if we would not have had Senator Ted Kennedy in the Senate, Peter Rodino, a congressman from New Jersey in the Congress, and other people that passed that legislation. And then in North Carolina, we can point to the anti-immigrant legislation that the Governor McCrory, advocated and passed here in the state legislature that was aimed directly against immigrants. And when I say that, I have to say Latino immigrants because they are the majority. Mm-hmm. So the undocumented people, instead of getting the kind of support that they need from the Republican Party, have had the Republican Party turn their backs on them and attack them in very vicious ways.
Yeah. When you look at the full history of your activism, are there times from the past that you could compare to some of what's going on this year in this election campaign and the kind of statements that are being made about Latinos?
Well, yes, certainly in our history with the United Farm Workers and other political work that I've done, we have seen that over the years we have had this anti-Latino, anti-immigrant rhetoric. But I have to say that nothing is as vicious or as strong as it has been now. And, we really have to say that although everybody criticizes Donald Trump, he is really the face of the Republican Party, because we have seen in so many legislatures and even in the U.S. Congress, their attempts to pass legislation that suppress the Latino vote, that suppress the African-American vote. And again, when it comes to women, we have seen their ongoing attacks to defund Planned Parenthood, to take away the Affordable Care Act, and the way that they talk about women and treat women. We're on the brink right now of a very, very big historical moment, because if we bring our African-American community together with the Latino community and the women's vote, we have the majority of the votes.
I don't mean to sound naive, because I don't think I am, but I've simply got to ask you, why all of this negativism toward the Latino community? Where's that coming from?
I think it's exactly the reason that we're talking about the Latino vote. Some of these conservatives and extremists, they know that the Latino vote has been very crucial in last elections, like when Obama was elected in 2012. And they tried then to suppress the Latino vote as much as they could. And, of course, they did a little bit, but not enough so that their candidate could win. And now here we have, like in the state of North Carolina, we have about 200,000 Latinos that can vote, but unfortunately only half of them are voting. And we're reminding them, you've got a governor here, McCrory, who passed some very strong anti-immigrant legislation. Mm-hmm. And so do you want to get him reelected? So this is a question we're saying to people, that they have a way to react now in a very nonviolent way to all of this anti-Latino rhetoric by just going to the ballots and voting, going to the voting booth. Mm-hmm. And we're reminding people that Friday is the last day that they can register to vote. They can get their application to vote at any DMV, Department of Motor Vehicle Office, or any public office, but they have to turn that in before 5 o'clock. And the early voting is also going to start very soon, I think on October 20th. So, we have everything at our disposal to make it possible to vote and to get back at these people. And we can elect the people that really support us, like Deborah Ross, who's running for the U.S. Senate. Of course, Hillary Clinton, who has been there with the Latino community from day one. And, make sure that these people that are against us do not get elected. The other thing, too, we have recently heard that a lot of the Republicans are saying they're deserting Trump when he came out with these really gross attacks on women. Mm-hmm. But we have to ask them, hey, where were you at when they were attacking the Latino community? Then we didn't see them then making any comments or saying we're going to desert Trump because he's attacking Mexicans.
Dolores, I just have to take advantage of this opportunity to ask you a question that has been on my mind a lot. I have such great respect for you and what you have done and what Cesar Chavez did. How do you handle, I know that you're in situations where you encounter a lot of negativity. There are times when you feel like, I'm sure that you're losing what you're wanting to gain. How have you, across the years, found the way to get up again when someone has pushed you down, how to speak with positive words again when you have seen such negative reactions?
Well, we like to say the one way to get back is to organize, and you use these negative situations to call attention to people that there are ways to counteract that, but the only way to do it is by coming together, by taking direct action, and, of course, by voting. And so when we have these negative situations, we can actually take advantage of them. And that happened to us in California, because, in California, we're the ones that gave the nation Reagan and Nixon. Mm-hmm. But in California, they passed a bill that was aimed at undocumented people, Proposition 187. And although it passed and was later thrown out by the Supreme Court, that bill that was like 1070 in Arizona, very anti-immigrant, it really inspired people to get out there and to organize and to register and to vote. And eventually, we now look at the state of California. It's a very, very strong blue state. All of our constitutional officers are Democrats. And the Republicans have sort of given up now because they know they have no influence at all in California. And I think that's going to happen throughout the country. Mm-hmm. But in order to make that happen, we've got to say to our people out there, look, you have a very strong weapon to get back at these people that have been attacking you, and that is your vote. And it's a vote. It only takes 5 minutes to register to vote. It might take you 15, 20 minutes to vote. But if we think of the hours that we spend watching the sports games, the football games, the baseball games, young people that are on their video games, people that are watching game shows or talk shows or these the soaps, you think of all of the time that we spend, and what little time does it take for us to register to vote, to know that we're going to make a difference, and we're going to elect people that are going to support the working families and our African-American families, our Latino families, our women, our disabled community, our veterans. You know what? Such an easy thing to do. And the other thing that we have to tell people, especially in the Latino community and maybe many others, don't get intimidated by that ballot. When you get that ballot, we want you to vote for what you feel comfortable and confident in voting. The rest of it, leave it blank. You don't have to fill out every little slot on that ballot. Mm-hmm. Just vote for the things that you feel comfortable with. But definitely you have to vote for the president, vote for the U.S. Senate, vote for your congressperson, and, of course, the people that are going to help us.
Dolores Huerta is an American labor leader and civil rights activist who was the co-founder of the United Farm Workers. She is a recipient of the United States Presidential Eleanor Roosevelt Award for Human Rights and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, among many other honors. Dolores Huerta is working with People for the American Way on the Latinos Vote project leading up to November 8th. Ms. Huerta, I, again, thank you for being with us today because you bring to our program a level of experience, a level of courage, a level of what it means to be an active citizen of this nation. And you embody what you talk about. We thank you so much for what you've done all of these years and will continue to do. And again, thank you for being with us today on State of Belief Radio.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.